A terror plot, so they say, foiled in Rochester, New York. We're going to take a look at that using just a little common sense. Also, the inevitability of Donald Trump's Republican victory. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Perhaps you heard, perhaps you did not hear, that the FBI arrested a man on New Year's Eve who they say was planning to attack people in Rochester, New York, and he did have some contact with folks in ISIS. But notice how little press it got around the country. And I was thinking about it. Now, think this through with me. First of all, he was entrapped, okay? And by that I mean the FBI had people that were drawing him in, posing as ISIS agents, ISIS operatives, and got him to say and to do things so that they could actually arrest him and get a conviction. Because that's what the FBI is about. Making an arrest and either getting an indictment or getting a conviction. They want to have convictions. It's not enough to make an arrest. It's not even enough to have an indictment. You can have an indictment and not get a victory in court because, as has been said, you could get a grand jury to indict their grandmother for owning a piece of toast, something like that. So this mix and match stuff has got to stop. So I thought, as I looked at the story, I thought, wait a minute. If this was a really big deal, the FBI in Washington, D.C. would be having a press conference. We've stopped yet another terrorist attack. The Homeland Security proved successful. Nothing. So then I thought, all right, maybe this was just an upstate New York, Western District operation, and they bagged this guy without the folks in Washington, D.C. even knowing what's going on. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. What if it was just a couple of agents who have the authority to do something like this, and they did it inside the FBI to prove a point? Maybe, because we don't know what they were using to bait this guy, but maybe they were quoting the Quran and the Sunnah to him. Maybe they were reading portions of the Hadith. That's the record of Muhammad's life that's not in the Quran. Okay? Maybe these agents were making a point to their supervisors and their superiors that, listen, to get a Muslim to become a jihadist is not that hard. And we're going to show you how it's done. I don't know. This is just conjecture on my part. But the reason that I'm trying to assess what's going on is there has to be a backstory. And the fact that the people in Washington, D.C. did not make a big deal out of this shows that either A, they were completely out of the loop, or B, they're involved in a cover-up of the connection between ancient historic Islam, as started by Muhammad, and modern terrorism. In other words, maybe they said, okay, look, this is the guy we arrested. Here's how we got him in. We read this part of Sahih Bukhari and this part of Sahih Muslim. We read him these passages from the Quran. We got him to agree, yes, I'm going to go and I'm going to kill these people for the glory of Allah. And the folks in Washington, D.C. said, no, we're just not going to run with this as a victory because we have a narrative. We have a narrative that Islam is peaceful, that we're not at war with Islam, and that jihadists have simply hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam. And if it doesn't fit their narrative, we've seen repeatedly that President Obama is perfectly content to ignore the facts on the ground to work with his narrative. His narrative is that Islam is a peaceful religion and that guns are bad. So in the wake of that brutal terrorist attack in Southern California, where people clearly could have been saved if some of them had just been allowed to have proper training and have a small handgun, Many of them would probably be alive. But he continues with his godless, demonic narrative that self-defense is bad and that Islam is peaceful. So what happened in Rochester, New York? I don't know. We'll see if the details come out. We know that this was a poor man. There are people already now that are just say, oh, he's a panhandler. He was set up. This is a joke. We'll find out. But I promise you, there's a reason why our friends in Washington, D.C. are not hyping this as a big victory. And it's got to do with the fact that somehow it does not fit their narrative. I'll be right back to talk about Donald Trump and about government. How would you like your name or the name of somebody that you love to be listed as a producer of our upcoming series, What Would Mohammed Do? If you are in a position to give a $1,000 gift, we have to buy some computer gear and some 4K monitors that cost about $12,000. One computer and 2 monitors, $12,000, because they're broadcast quality. This is not a Hewlett-Packard laptop, okay? If you can be one of those 12 people who give $1,000 or more, we will list you as a producer in the series, What Would Mohammed Do? Or if you want to do it in memory of a loved one, we will do that as well. Please, go to the GoFundMe site you see, watch the pilot, and if you say, I want to be a part of that, give a $1,000 gift, and we will put you or the person you choose as a producer of this TV series. I thank you in advance. God bless you. In the book of Genesis, we see that God established 4 governments. You've heard of self-government, learn to govern yourself. You've heard of family government. Okay, so the 4 governments that God established were self-government, family government, church government, and then last is civil government. The church government had to do with the means by which God was worshiped, okay? The rules of worship. And then, of course, our redemption. When Adam and Eve fell, God made the promise of the seed of the woman crushing the head of the seed of the serpent. So we see in seed form the 4 governments. And then as the scriptures go forward and as time elapses, first with Judaism and then with Christianity, we see the 4 governments established. All 4 of these governments are under the reign and the government of God. They are not autonomous, all right? They do not get to, family government doesn't get to say, well, I think family should be 3 men in a tree, okay? Civil government does not have the right to say, we own all of the air and all of the water and all of the land, and like Pharaoh move people around, or like Karl Marx strip away private property. No, 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 no. As you read the books of the law, the 5 golden rings of the 12 days of Christmas, as you read the 5 books of the law, you see great detail given to land ownership and to how government elders in the gate are picked, how judges in the gate are picked, and how those elders are to govern and how those judges are to judge based upon the laws of God. Okay? There's people that say, well, you want a theocracy. No. Listen to me. The world is a theocracy. It already is a theocracy. What does the word theocracy mean? It means God rules. Well, I have a hot flash for you. God rules. He's not a whimpering 7-year-old over in the corner. He is the ruler of the universe. People say, well, then why do bad things happen? The authority of God, the rulership, the sovereignty of God, if you will, is displayed ultimately in his ability to bring everyone before his judgment seat. Conceptually, the United States is a sovereign nation. Let me make an example. So there are people who break the laws, right? They say to Uncle Sam, we don't care about you, we'll do what we want. And the long arm of the law, usually, not always, but usually gets them. And then those people are brought and before a judge, and justice is served, okay? So the sovereignty of the United States of America is not displayed in its ability to force every living human being to obey every law. The sovereignty of the United States is displayed in its ability to bring people before its judgment seat, if you will. Okay? So the sovereignty of God is displayed in A, he is the ruler of the universe. B, he gave us his laws. C, he has punishments and rewards inherent in the keeping or breaking of those laws, right? But then D, ultimately, he can and he will bring every living soul before his judgment seat. Thus is his sovereignty displayed. Okay? Now, between now and that day, God is still the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the sovereign of the universe. And he has given his laws. He's given laws on how a family is to govern itself with family government. He's given laws on how individuals are to govern their behavior with self-government. Is there a law against laziness? A civil law? No. It's a sin to be lazy, but it's not a crime. Is there a law on the books against covetousness or greed? No. He's going to serve 5 to 10 years for covetousness. No. It's a sin, but it's not a crime. So God has given these various laws for self-government, some of which are for internal governing of behavior or bodily behavior, but they're not criminal acts. I've got to take a break. I'll be right back. Stay with me. Please stay with me. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas referred to John Locke twice in his dissent in the Obergefell decision. John Locke is referred to as the philosopher of American liberty. He was a genius, and he not only believed in natural law, but he believed in revealed law, the Word of God, the law of God. And he is one of the two most influential philosophers on the founders of this republic. We are offering you this book, and I'm going to give you my book as well, The Sword. The Sword, the subtitle is The Blessing of Righteous Government and the Overthrow of Tyrants. It looks at what is the legitimate purpose of government and when is it our right to overthrow government like they did with the Declaration of Independence. We will send you these two books if you simply pay for the shipping and handling, $8, and then give whatever else you want. And by the way, the $8 doesn't cover our cost, but if that's all you can afford, we'll send them to you for the $8. God bless you. All right, so off the air, Billy Bob and I and Bobby Sue and I were talking. Covetousness is a sin, right? But it's not a crime. Stealing, however, is a crime. You with me? Now, you shall not steal. That involves personal behavior, all right? That's a command regarding self-government. But it's also a command that has impact in civil government. Because if someone does steal, now they have brought themselves under the purview, under the authority, under the umbrella of civil government to receive a civil punishment, a punishment involving the law, all right, the government. Randall, why are you going down all this here path? I'm fixing to tell you. One of the reasons that I spend so much time on this program talking about civil government, federal, state government, international relations, and the judiciary is because of the four governments, self-government, family government, church government, and civil government, by far the most dangerous to human liberty is civil government. By far. The ability to do the most damage, by far, is in the hands of civil government. I think it was George Washington who said it is a dangerous, civil government is a dangerous servant and a dreadful master, something like that. If he didn't say it, then I'll say it. Civil government is a dangerous servant and a dreadful master. And part of the reason is God, in his goodness, has given to each of us the right to self-defense, okay? The right to own a sword, if you will, in biblical parlance, in Bible talk. We have the right to own a firearm. But God has concentrated the authority of the sword in civil government. It's according to Romans chapter 13. So we see in the books of the law, if someone commits a murder, they're to be brought before the gate and tried by the elders in the gate or by the judges, and then they're to be sentenced to death, and they're to be killed, okay? So civil government has the authority given to it by God to execute judgment. That's what Paul wrote in Romans chapter 13. To execute judgment, vengeance on those who disobey, who break the laws. Remember, it says that in Romans 13 that he is the servant of God to thee for good. You know that? It says that the civil magistrate is God's servant for us to do good, for us, for our benefit. But here's the problem. Let's, again, using an illustration. God gives a family authority, right? And he made the dad the patriarch of the family, okay? Well, what if the dad is nuts? What if he's evil? What if he wants to sell his children into godless behaviors? What if he wants to turn his family into a crime enterprise to commit murders and thefts? Then what? Well, the father is to be disobeyed. He doesn't have the authority given him by God to take his family down a path of evil, okay? Likewise, civil government does not have the authority to take us as the body politic, we the people. They do not have the authority to take us down a path of evil. And when the civil government becomes destructive toward the ends for which God made it, God made civil government to be a protection of righteousness and to punish evil. But if it begins to punish righteousness and protect evil, then like the father of the family who becomes a lunatic and a rebel against God, civil government is to be disobeyed, resisted, confronted, denounced. Okay? Are you still with me? There are Christians, good Christian people. All right, maybe they're, anyway, there are Christians who say, if the government says it, we have to obey it, because Romans 13 says, obey the powers that be. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Caesar doesn't have the right to tell me to disobey God. Caesar doesn't have unending power. I actually had, Norman Geisler was his name. He was a Christian writer. I don't know what his status is now, but he and I were in a debate, and he said that the Christians who hid the Jews from the Nazis in World War II were sinning. Did you hear what I just said? That the Christians who hid the Jews from the Nazis were sinning because they disobeyed German law. That opinion is from hell. It's not Christian. It's from hell. I'll be right back, finishing this up and talking about Donald Trump. Don't go away. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. Well, the reason that we spend so much time on this program focusing on politics and on the judiciary is because of the danger in our lives because of government. Our government has become a threat to us. This is no longer the United States that I grew up in. Okay, it's not the one I was born into. Some of you are my age or older, you know that what I'm saying is true. Some of you are younger, you don't have a clue what I'm talking about. The country that I was brought up in, that I was born in, did not murder its babies, knew what marriage was, had a sound sexual ethic. Okay? It was not a socialist, politically correct, Islam embracing republic. It was the republic that had just defeated the Nazis. Okay? Yeah, it was Ozzie and Harriet. I can think of a lot worse things than Ozzie and Harriet. Oh, wait, that's what we have right now. So the reason I'm spending so much time on this program, and it's so critical, is because truth is being suppressed. Righteousness is being harassed. Justice is being crushed at the hand of government. And if we are going to see this country rescued, we must get involved in government. I'm sorry. There's just no way around it. You've been to churches where you've got altar calls, right? And then, for those of you who'd like to dedicate your life to the service of the Lord in missions, come forward. An altar call for missions. An altar call, not just salvation altar calls, but an altar call for service to the Lord. Those who feel the call of God on their lives to become pastors, I want you to come forward. We're going to pray for you. When's the last time you were in a church service of any kind, any denomination, where there was an altar call or just a general plea made for people to enter civil government? I'd like you who are feeling the tug of God on your heart, the Holy Spirit's moving on you, to become a lawyer so that you can become a judge one day. Come forward. I want to pray for you. Most of us have never, ever been to a church service like that. But that's exactly what we need. That's where the void is. These godless fools that are running this country into the ground, into the jaws of hell, we need to replace them with God-fearing men and women who will do what is right. Which brings me back to Donald Trump. I have a lot of discussions with a lot of people because I do this show. I think Donald Trump is serving a huge purpose for us. Will he be a righteous, noble reformer? I don't know. My inclination is to think no. I want to be wrong, okay? Clearly, I'm the kind of guy that can be tricked because I want to be wrong. Please, Trump, come through. I really think he's going to be the nominee, people. I really do. So here's what's going on. Right now, behind the scenes, the Republican machinery is going to do everything they can to keep him from getting to that convention with the number of votes he needs to become the Republican nominee. But that aside, the good thing that Donald Trump is doing for us is he is inspiring people to stop holding back the contempt and the anger that is burning in our breasts. Okay? He's giving us permission. Not that we needed it, but a lot of people are going, well, you know, I don't want to be mean-spirited, and I got to be politically correct. I have to show tolerance. No, just tear that nonsense off. He's giving us permission to run right at the government, right at the establishment, and say we're being governed by stupid people. We need to replace these people. He's giving us permission. He's giving us a path. Now, listen, there is a hierarchy. Please remember that. Don't believe anyone who says that all sins are equal. They're not. They're just not. All right? The ancient church teaching of mortal sin and venial sin, you better believe it's true. Because if you don't think it's true, you tell me the difference between stealing a piece of gum or telling a white lie to your child and murdering a human being, an innocent human being. If you think that there's no difference between those sins, you are sadly mistaken. You have been totally deceived. I don't care what Bible verses someone quotes you from the book of James, all right? I don't care. It's a deception. All sins are not equal. Murdering our babies is a crime that cries to God from heaven. The blood cries out. Homosexual marriage is a sin against God that cries for judgment. So as we get government back, those need to be the top two priorities, and then we go down from there, okay? We need people who have the right priorities, given to them by God to bring this country back. And maybe, sir or ma'am, it's you.